Thank you, Ganesh. Hi all. Uh, Today I'll be discussing about browser high-level architecture and uh, main flow. Wait. Slide on the reload is there? Okay. Today I'll be discussing about these things: the browser's high-level architecture and the main flow. Okay. Why should I learn all this stuff? Simple. If you learn these things, you can develop websites with best practices, then write highly optimizable code which will help you to make your websites faster, more user friendly and stuff like that. Okay, and today we'll be talking about these browsers, the modern latest versions of these browsers, and first of all the browser's high level structure. Okay, these are the components which works together to render the HTML, and with the help of these components the browser renders your HTML page and outputs it to the screen. On the bottom we have the networking layer. The networking layer, what actually it does is it processes your HTTP request, and next to that we have the JS interpreter. It's also called as JS engine. And next we have the UI backend. What actually UI backend is? It's a set of widgets. For example, compo boxes, checkboxes, and etc. etc. Usually browser creates all these stuffs with the help of the capabilities of the operating system's UI methods. Okay. On the right we have the data persistence layer. What actually this does is it's used to store data. Previously it was something like cookies, and now we have more sophisticated data like what to say, web storage, local storage, file system, and so and so and so. And on the top we have the user interface. It's the browser's user interface, which contains the browser's back menu, forward menu, then bookmarking, close, open, and stuff like that. And we have the render engine. This is the the important part of the browser. Maybe we can say it as a heart of the browser, and which renders your HTML and outputs it to the screen. And finally the browser engine, actually what it does, it's something like it works as a mediator between the render engine and the user interface, and these are the components which is there in the browser, the basic components which are there in the browser. And yeah, sure. Any questions or something? Anything?
So are you able to visualize that what is the browser and browser has different things? Because just a theory to us and we just
It's just
be able to understand that
what are
user
things.
interface is what we see whenever we open a browser. We have a URL area where we can type in and some page gets loaded. Oh, okay. So user interface is whatever we see when we click a browser, and we have a place where we can type in a URL. Then when we type a URL, what happens is that it uses its networking part to send the request, identify the server, and get the response. And once they get the response, the browser engine passes it to the rendering engine to render that HTML. It is just a set of code, HTML, JavaScript, and CSS that they get as the response, right? So rendering engine has the capability to render it, and it has to paint it and show that picture to us, or that show that website to us. So rendering engine uses UI backend to get, that is, if there is any form elements or some predefined things, that is from the UI backend it takes. This is the, for example, in Safari, in Mac OS, it may be that is a drop down will be displayed in one method, and the UI for that in another operating system might be different. It is just because this UI backend uses the operating system's capabilities to create those elements. And whenever there is a JavaScript, it sends to the JS interpreter, and that is the JavaScript engine that we discussed over the previous sessions. That is our different JavaScript engines or JavaScript interpreters, which is used to render the JavaScript. And rendering engine does the layouting, that is how to draw it, and give it back to the browser engine, which displays it back in our screen, in our browser screen. So rendering engine is the part which handles the layouting, the painting, etc. So that is the browser's high-level architecture, and that is, it will be better that is if you could know how exactly this rendering engine work. So Shiraz will be going to discuss about that, right?
Anything? Okay.
Because it is an open interactive session, it is not someone coming and taking a seminar and you are just attending. And we are, that is, we just want it to be an entry level type of questions are also invited, because normally when we go for a seminar somewhere, we always hesitate to ask questions because we feel as if, okay, whether I'm wrong or not. But here you do not have to have such hesitations. Anything that you couldn't get, just shoot out the question, and we will try to answer it. Okay.
Okay. Then about rendering engines. Okay. Different browsers use different rendering engines, and for Firefox they are using Gecko. For Internet Explorer they're using Trident, WebKit for Safari, and Blink for newer versions of Opera and Chrome. Actually, Blink is a forked version of WebKit, and around 4.5 millions of files, sorry, millions of lines have been removed from the WebKit browser, and around 7,000, maybe around 7,000 files was removed to create that rendering engine. And actually, Google did that fork and created the Blink rendering engine. Hope all is clear. Okay, then the next is the browser's main flow. How a browser work in its background. First, what happens when someone queries a URL? What happens? Any?
In which term you are asking when you type that actually?
Yes. What happens when I type www.google.com?
What is the
next? Okay. This whatever I'm going to tell, it may not be relevant. Okay, fine. It first goes and hits the DNS engine to get the IP address, and using the IP address, it will connect to that corresponding server, and it gets the data. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that was correct. First, the browsers, the URL get routed to its server. Server sends a response back, and that response contains something, assets that must be loaded into the browser. For example, CSS, JavaScript, images, HTML, and stuff like that. the first thing which browser does is it creates or it passes the HTML and creates a tree called the DOM tree. From there, the another step is taking, and that's conversion of the DOM tree to another tree called render tree. From there, actually, the render tree goes to a process called layout. We'll be discussing later, and finally, the layout gets painted into the browser. That's what simply happens when a user queries a URL. First of all, I'd like parsing. Parsing is converting HTML code to a render tree. It's the first step which happens, and HTML can't be parsed like any other languages, just like Java or C or something like that, because it's because of its reentrant nature. Because it can be, the rendered output can be changed with the help of some JavaScript or something like that. The rendered output can be changed. Okay, so what this guys does is, there's a component which the parsing is done with the co-working of two components. One is a tokenizer and another is a parser. What the tokenizer does is, it knows how to split the HTML inputs into words which the browser knows. Then a tree called render tree is, sorry, DOM tree is created, and the parser creates the DOM tree. It's a recursive process. It goes and goes and goes and creates the tree. Elements get added into the render tree, and this is what it's happening through the network. Input gets here, the tokenizer it's reached to a tokenizer, and tokenizer splits it, that it's a recursive process, and last the render tree is created. These are the tokens. HTML get converted into HTML element, head into head element, and so and so and so.
So it is just like creating the containers. For example, HTML is the outermost container, and there is a head container, then a title, body container, then there is a P, there is a div. All those things are nested properly. That is what is inside what. That is determined on the DOM tree, and that is what the creation of DOM tree is. So it is just without applying the dimension, it just mentioned that this box is inside this. And for identifying that box, tokenizer is used. Tokenizer considers HTML as the outer box, that is the HTML element. So it has a set of predefined elements, and each tag is converted to a token, and these tokens are linked together in a DOM tree. So this is the outermost, that is the top layer is the HTML element, then below that there is a head element and maybe the title element. So how, that is how it forms the DOM tree. So is there any question? You are getting right?
This is the DOM tree. Here the a fully built DOM tree will look like this. Okay. Actually, previously there were no specific parsing algorithms, and nowadays the in HTML5 they have come up with a new algorithm, and today all modern browsers are using the same algorithm to work on their DOM tree, and this is parsing. And the next step is this DOM tree gets converted into another tree, and that's called the render tree. And here what happens is the blocks gets visual attributes. For example, the HTML, the HTML element, it will be converted to a block box. These are similar to CSS block models. I hope you all understand what CSS block model is. Okay, that HTML gets converted to a block box, then HTML paragraph to a block box, then span element to an inline box, and so and so and so. And in the render tree, what actually happens is the elements which are not which have a display none won't be rendered in the render tree. The elements which are out of the regular flow of document, for example, a fixed position or absolute position, blocks will not be rendered in this step. Another thing is the elements which are inside the head tag, it won't be rendered in this step. Just only blocks are created. Block or
Block box and inline box, right?
block boxes are just blocks, and lane boxes will stack
Yeah, you just determine
one
whether the next block will be on
one by
right
one.
side or middle. So if it is an inline box, the next item will be on the showing on the right. And if it is a block box, it will
Yeah.
go to the next line.
And the next is the DOM tree is created. The browser has to resolve the styles, user-defined styles, all the inline styles, whatever it may be. The browser has to resolve styles, and what happens is that it has to recursively traverse through each and every node. Node means that DOM element, that stuffs which already created, and it has to apply each and every style. I think it's a bit of a CPU consuming thing. A lot amount of CPU memory will be consumed in this step, and browsers usually do some techniques to lower the use of CPUs. For example, some elements share same style. If you say, if I have an element whose parent is same, if I have elements with a same parent and no specific rules are defined in my CSS, or any inline styles or something like that is not defined, then the browser shares the style. That way, so that the processing will be a bit more faster. Another method is browser creates indexes of its large DOM tree. It makes small indexes of its large tree, and so that traversing will be easy. Here, the style got resolved, and the next step is layout. Actually, in this step, the blocks gets its dimensions and positions. All the dimensions are calculated, and the position is also given in this step. And moving on to next step is the painting, and finally the positioned element with the help of the operating system's UI capability gets painted into the browser. In the painting step, we have another thing called Z-index, that third dimension of the blocks. We can stack one above the other, and usually browser uses something called a stack to what arrange these layers one above the other, the values one above the other, which comes to the front, which comes to next, and here the browser paints the our web page will be seen, and we can see. Okay, does it stops here? No, never. Because as we already said, it's something HTML is called reentrant language, or HTML is reentrant. And just imagine I have a menu, and once I click that menu, something will be, or sub menu will be dropping down. Then the browser have to rerender it. Here triggers the relayouts and repaints. Okay, relayout happens when we change the geometric attributes of the node. If I change width or height, something like that, relayout will be happening. And in modern browsers, what actually they does is they use a system called dirty bit system. And if our changes are lower in our nodes, say towards the end of a tree or something like that, then the browser uses that system, that dirty bit system. Just that node will be changed. If my changes is upper in my hierarchy, then the browser has to re-render the full DOM tree. This process have to take place. It's definitely layouting, re-layouting, and repaint as it's just if you change a color, background color or something like that, the browser will just repaint that section only. That's what happens in repaint and relayout. Okay, then for you, some UI developers or front-end developers, some tips to avoid repaint or relayouts, or to minimize the effect of these things. First of all, never ever try to query an element. Never try to query element like here. It's a jQuery $div.width. What happens is browser will remain or all the geometric attributes will be there in the browser cache. And if I query something like this div, then it has to go through all the divs, need to restructure these things, and it's a bit of we can make what happens actually it's time consuming. Yeah, the browser has to flush out all its previous cache, and then needs to, actually it's not cache, it's in the memory. The browser has to flush out all these things and recalculates this, and obviously it will take time. Another thing is it will be better to make changes in a node which is not displayed, because as we already mentioned, a node which is not displayed will not be there in the render tree. That's happened. Okay, and nowadays we use a lot of animations in our web pages, and what happens is animations are if you look at your memory or CPU, it will just keep fluctuating. And while using animations, please do this thing, use absolute position or fixed position node to animate. Okay, and finally today not much developers do all these things, replacing lenses. Never. Our developers usually write styles in CSS sheets, and okay, try to keep changes lower in the tree. Yeah, that's and that's all for the browser's high-level architecture and main flow. And just a quick recap on these things. Yeah, next, next. Yeah, hope you already know all these stuffs, the browser's components, the networking JS interpreter, your backend, rendering engine, browser engine, user interface, and data persistence layer. Then that next about that render engines. Then what happens when a user clicks or user queries a URL? Then comes the parsing, that conversion of that HTML to a DOM element using that tokenizer and a parser. Then next is the render tree creation, where the DOM element gets converted to a tree called render tree. Then the browser resolves the styles and a layout is created, and finally the output gets painted to the browser. And finally, when what happens when we make some changes or things and the do's and don'ts. Hope any questions or then